Bienvenue sur ECHOES, le podcast international qui donne la parole à celles et ceux que le monde a changé. Chaque épisode, c'est une voix, un fragment de mémoire, un instant d'histoire. Rendez-vous chaque mercredi à 18h et abonnez-vous pour ne rien manquer.
I think the American dream, well, for instance, I come from a very poor background. When I was a boy, we were very, very poor. It wasn't even in my mind to ever own a new car. It was never in my mind that I would ever own a home. And I think the fact that I came down here when I was 16 and I bought my first car, new car, a showroom car at 18, and I bought my first house when I was like 24 or something like that. I think that's really, to me it was a miracle. I was always told, keep your enemies close. And the way to keep them close is to make them think that you're friends with them.
C'était la défaite de la France.
If one day war is really happening, we all need to learn how to defend ourselves.
Lo habían torturado horrible. Mi papá estaba colgado.
Одразу зв'язалася з сім'єю, повідомила, що я жива.
去中国大陆的时候，也给你大脚。
Pour la première fois de ma vie que j'entendais des explosions.
À l'heure où les États-Unis cherchent à renouer avec leur grandeur passée, la promesse du rêve américain semble vaciller. Entre fractures sociales, désillusion politique et polarisation croissante, un pays tout entier s'interroge sur son identité. PJ, Canadien naturalisé américain, a vécu ce rêve. Il en est aujourd'hui le témoin lucide au cœur d'une Amérique en pleine mutation.
I think that a lot of Americans are obsessed with money and materialistic, but I think as you get older and you realize that a hearse doesn't have a luggage rack and you can't take the money with you, I think they maybe calm down a little bit. There's people who want millions and billions and billions of dollars, but I think most people are content with being able to support their family, take a few vacations in their lifetime, a good vacation or two, and have a nice car and a nice home. But I think most Americans struggle. The obsession is probably the struggle to survive with the lower class and the middle class. But the upper class, they are obsessed with money way more than the poor people, I think. I think that the USA is the best country in the world. I don't think it's the best country to live as far as politics and stuff, but as far as freedom and what you can get here and things like that, I think America is an amazing country. I am Canadian and I became an American. I became an American because I love this. I love where I live and I love the opportunities that was afforded to me being here. But I think that I'm a person who really fought for having nice things and to be able to survive. And I still fight for it because it can easily be taken away at any time. The reason why I became an American citizen, because before I was living here with a green card for years. And after 9/11, I had a friend from England who owned a business and 2 homes here. And he was jaywalking, got arrested, and he was deported. And I went, how can they deport you? Well, they can deport you. Just having a green card only says that you're illegally in the country. But it's a privilege. They can take that privilege away at any time for any reason. They found him to be an undesirable because the green or the red tape was he broke the law, and at that time they were just getting rid of anyone that broke the law. It didn't matter what it was for. Now a lot of people did worse things and got to stay, but he got deported. I became an American citizen not because I don't love my country, because I love being a Canadian, but I do love living here, and I didn't want anyone to say get out. Because when you're a citizen, they can't just force you to leave. Because you are part of the country then. Everything is big in the USA. Big cars, big movies, big everything. I mean, Americans, I think, have it drilled into their head that they have to have the biggest house, they have to have the biggest car, they have to have the tallest children, they have the biggest wardrobe, they have to have the most things. It's funny because Americans have sayings like, the guy who dies with the most toys wins. And it's really, in a nutshell, what America is, what Americans, a lot of Americans, like, this is a totally generalized statement. Not everybody thinks like that. I like to have nice things. I think everyone likes to have nice things. But I've realized as I got older, I don't have to have the biggest house. I don't have to have the biggest car or the fanciest car. I had those things. And I got rid of them because you start living to, or your life is surrounded and how do I say it? Your life is you're obsessed with keeping those things. And once, I used to have a huge house, and now I have this small house. This small house, I was told by an old Indian lady, she said, you know, a house should be big enough to house your soul, because your soul will get lost in a big house. And I thought about it and I went, you know, that house was so big that I had before that there were times and rooms in that house I'd never really spent any time with. I had guests and I'd say, this is where you're going to sleep and this is that bathroom, but there were bathrooms I never peed in, there were rooms I never slept in, there were rooms I never did anything in. And what does one person need this house for? There are football stars and basketball stars who are single and they live in 25,000 square feet. That's ridiculous when there's, to this day, in this town and in every big city in America, there are children starving. There are children sleeping on the streets. That's a crime when there's one person living in a $25 million or 25,000 square foot house. It's crazy. To me, it's crazy. I love the country. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful countries and has an array of everything, an array of people, an array of food, an array of cultures. But what I dislike about this country is the politics. The politics, to me, are embarrassing. That the people of this country are constantly thinking their opinion is the only opinion and their opinion is the best opinion. And I really don't follow politics to the point where I'm obsessed with them. But what I see in the news and stuff like that is, to me, it's sad, and it must look sad to people looking at the news that they're constantly bombarding and saying disgusting things about the President of the United States. I don't like this president personally, but I feel, I don't know about politics. The majority probably knows more than me. So I figure, you know, if they feel this is the man to run the country and they voted him in, then my job is to support the guy. Don't have to like the guy, but to support the guy and hope that he makes the country better. And it seems, like I said, I don't like the guy as a person. I think if he got rid of his Twitter account and he just read from a script that was written by a speechwriter and there was no social media, I think that their opinion of him would be different. I mean, some of the Republican Party's policies I don't like, but I'm not a politician and I'm not a person who follows politics, so I have to feel in my heart that I'm leaving it in the hands of the majority of the people and that they know better than me. I think the American dream, well, for instance, I come from a very poor background. When I was a boy, we were very, very poor. It wasn't even in my mind to ever own a new car. It was never in my mind that I would ever own a home. And I think the fact that I came down here when I was 16 and I bought my first car, new car, a showroom car at 18, and I bought my first house when I was like 24 or something like that. I think that's really, to me it was a miracle. For me that was the biggest changing point in my life, where I was able to have a home, and if I wanted to knock a wall out and put a door there and put a light switch over here, I was able to do that. That's freedom. The freedom that you want to plant an orange tree here and a grapefruit tree there, that's freedom. You can do what you want. When you rent a house and that's all you think you can do all your life, it doesn't make you feel like you don't have the dream, but when you are able to purchase a home, you become a different person. You become more proud and more, not more respectful of your surroundings, but you become, you feel like you're part of something bigger than you. And to raise your family where you feel is your dream place is an amazing thing. I mean, the only reason why I stay in this home is because every tree, every stick that's here, I put there, and it's kind of like part of me, part of my soul is in this garden and in this house and every little piece that I have here. Does that make sense? I think in the last 10 years, the way politics have gone, I think that they're robbing the American people of the American dream. I think the American dream in my day was possible. But I think that it's getting harder and harder to achieve because the government keeps allowing, and the government itself takes advantage of their own people. And I think that's really sad. I know right now, it is so difficult and so hard for anyone to buy a home that most people that I talk to, most people who are in their 20s or 30s, it is like a prayer rather than a dream to have a house. And they're probably never going to achieve that. And the sad thing is that I see a lot of people, a lot of young people say they'll never have children. And I've asked why, and there's been people, young kids in their 20s that say they'll never have children because they don't think their children are going to be able to live out a natural life. I said, what do you mean? They think the world is going to come to an end. They think that there's going to be an overpopulation, there's going to not be enough food, there's going to be wars over food, there's going to be wars over politics, like all the crap that's going on in the world now. And what's fueling all of this crap is the internet and the news media. They're causing problems because the news media about Russia is saying that Russia's going to do this or Kim Jong-un's going to do that and stuff like that. And if these meetings were held in closed meetings without the news media and stuff like that, we wouldn't have this fuel that America thrives on gossip. And that's all that is. That's gossip. Well, the fights, they take a little thing that's said and they twist it into something huge. And I'm talking about every politician from every side, the Democrats, the Republicans, all of this stuff. They're constantly fueling the lies of each other. To me, they all look like criminals. I wouldn't lend any of them $10 and expect to get it back. But the American dream is I think for the new generations becoming. I mean, the American dream to me when I came down here was to own a home, to own a car, to have enough money to live on, and to raise a nice family. You can't raise. I don't know how anybody with 2 children survives. I don't know how they go to work with a regular job, pay their rent, or pay. How can they? They're barely feeding their families and working 2 jobs with 2 people working jobs. With regular jobs. I'm not talking about tech jobs or show business jobs and stuff like that, but how are they supporting these people? I work my butt off and I can barely take care of myself. And that's only in the last 10 years. It's been very, very hard to keep afloat. So I'm constantly trying to figure out what can I do? Like, I used to have a really good business. Photography is not a good business any. Show business is a horrible business now to be in. So I call myself a treasure hunter. I buy things because I have a good eye from traveling all over the world. I have a good eye. I buy antiques and stuff like that and flip them. And I mean, this is what I call an IKEA generation. Nobody knows or cares about anything that has any history. As long as it's functional and it's cheap, they'll buy it. I think the Canadian flag for me represents freedom in a different way than it does in America. Canadian freedom is, I think Canada's flag represents a melting pot of people from all countries that are welcome. America, I think their flag represents freedom for the American people, but not necessary for new immigrants or people who want to migrate here, which is sad. I think Canada opens up their arms to more migrants because all of these countries are built on the backbone of migrant and immigrants. Unfortunately, once again, America, a lot of Americans, not all Americans, but a lot of Americans say, this is my country, go back to where you came from, we don't need you, we don't need, I mean, like I live in California, and when they're saying, get rid of all the Mexicans and send them back, that's ridiculous. The Mexicans are the hardest working people ever. They're taking care of this city, they're taking care of this state. Spanish is the first language of this city. If we got rid of every Mexican person in this state, we would have a very boring state that needed a lot of repair, that needed a lot of gardening, that needed, not to say that they're all gardeners and repairmen, but they really keep this country going, in my opinion. Unfortunately, with television and advertising and the internet and social media, we are constantly being bombarded and brainwashed into buying things that we don't need, that we think we need because the next guy has it. Everybody wants the latest iPhone. I use a phone for a phone. It does a lot of different things, but I think the younger generation, it's really addictive for them to have things that they don't need, I am guilty of it as well. I buy things that, oh, you know, this is the latest gadget. I have to have it. When I don't have to have it, that money would be much better spent putting towards a credit card bill or something like that. And I think in the word consumerist, to me, means you're buying things that you don't need. And I think that the way the big man in America, that, you know, American credit cards charge a fortune in percentage, and especially in holidays. So if you go shopping in a department store, wherever you walk, they're saying, come on in, we'll give you 20% off if you open a credit card account today. And they make it seem, credit cards are really funny. Americans think it's a credit card, it's not really money, until they get that bill, or until they get credit people harassing them on the phone and stuff like that. And it's really sad, because credit should be used for emergencies. Because in the end, you buy something for $300 on a credit card, in the end you're spending $500 or $1,000 on it because you keep paying small payments. There should be a law against that, and the government here allows these big companies to get richer and richer and richer on the backbone of their people. And there should be a government control over how much they can charge for interest rates on homes, on credit cards, on automobiles and stuff, because too many Americans, and including myself, have gone in the hole buying things that they don't really need, but they just make it so easy for you to get these things. I don't think Las Vegas is a representative of the American dream. I think Las Vegas is adequately called Sin City, because that's what it is. I think that people go to Las Vegas with dreams and hopes. It's like the credit card thing. They think, okay, if I save some money going on a vacation to Las Vegas, and I pull, my luck is right, and I pull that right machine, or I play that right card, that it's going to change my life for the better. The fact of the matter is, even with the lottery, and I play the lottery, and if I saved all the money over the last 20 years that I played the lottery for, I probably could have paid for my house. Or not paid for my house, but bought something very nice or paid something off. We all have this instinct that we want to get something for nothing, or we want to get something big for little effort. It's our human nature, and it's kind of sad that we think that way. But it pays off very, very rarely for anyone. I mean, the lottery, like I said, is like the credit cards. It's easy to put something on credit because you don't think in your mind you're paying for it. But the lottery is like, okay, you pay $10 and you win $1 million, but you don't win the $1 million, and most people don't know anybody that's won big on the lottery or won a large sum of money in the lottery. Yet we all keep playing it. It's just our human nature to get something for nothing, and it's really sad. Now, as far as Silicon Valley goes, I think Silicon Valley represents where Silicon Valley represents the tech industry in California and in America, and I think that we do need to constantly work on tech to compete with other countries, because like our whole lives, God forbid we blow a fuse, this whole country is going to shut down. If we have no electricity, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no internet, there's no TV, there's nothing, and we rely on it. And it's really kind of sad, because that's why I think that we need to get back to basics. We need to start not relying on all this stuff. Kids are being babysat in their rooms with a television and a game box. They're not communicating with other people. They're not gaining communication skills. When they go out into the world as adults, they're going to be introverts. They're not going to be extroverts and go out and socialize and stuff like that. And I think we're raising hermits in the end. Capitalism to me is where the big guys, the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. But I'm not the most intelligent guy. I'm an 8th grade dropout. So that's where it goes back to the American dream. An 8th grade dropout who owns a house in the Hollywood Hills is a pretty cool thing. And I'm proud of that. But so the literal meaning of capitalism is not something I really understand. But if you say to me, what does capitalism mean to you? I think it means that rich people want to stay rich and get richer, which I don't understand why, because you can't take it with you. But poor people stay poor because they can't get out of that hole. I think there's many, many, many kinds of people, and some are individual. I'm definitely an individualist. I mean, when they made me, they broke the mold. But I think a lot of people are followers. I think there's individuals, there's followers, and there's extremists. The extremists scare me. The individualists, I probably scare some people because my beliefs are very old-fashioned. I believe that if you really want something, if you give yourself positive energy and you tell yourself you can get it, you will get it. I don't know, but I think from what I've heard and what I see that Russian people, the government, is a lot harder on the people themselves than American government. I think American government probably lets their people have more freedom. That's only what I think. I don't know if that's a fact. I know some Russian people, and some Russian people love their country, and like I love Canada, but we're here. But there's also Russian people that hate there's Americans that hate America. And I've always said it a million times. If you don't like where you are, don't ruin it for the people who love it. Get out, go someplace else, migrate someplace else, or move someplace else. All these people who hate America, I've always said, you know what, we should get a GoFundMe page, and if you don't like America and you want to badmouth America and you don't want to support America or try to make America a better place to live, then let's start a GoFundMe page. If you want to give us your passport, we'll give you a one-way ticket to wherever you want to go. I think if you have positive people around you, positive things are going to happen. Does that make sense? Freedom for me is being able to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, without breaking the law, without hurting somebody else. And we all have a certain amount of freedom, but we all have a certain amount of boundaries that we can't do. And some of the boundaries are stupid. Like when you buy a home, I feel you should be able to do whatever you want in that home. You should be able to paint your walls green and put up a palm tree or whatever. But unfortunately, there are rules like, in my area where I live in the Hollywood Hills, you're not allowed to plant a tree unless it's a deciduous tree, it's native to the place, and I think that's ridiculous. My neighbors built a new house, a $3 million house a couple years ago. They wanted to put palm trees in pots on their deck, and they weren't allowed to do that. I think that's crazy. Freedom is that you can have a job to do what you want to do, you can marry who you want to marry, that people don't judge you because you're different. And unfortunately, in this country and all countries, people who are different still get judged. People who, I don't want to judge somebody who wants to live off the grid. There's people who want to live in a tent in a hut or a hut. I don't think that people should judge them. Let them do what they want to do. They're not hurting anybody. He is positive in he's done a lot of positive things. Like I said, I don't like the man, but you have to give him credit where credit is due. The fact that he's talking to Putin and he's talking to Kim Jong-un and all these political people that most people hate, rather than say he's coercing with them or cooking up some weird deals, to me, the guy's talking to Putin and talking to these other radical politicians from other countries. I was always told, keep your enemies close. And the way to keep them close is to make them think that you're friends with them. But what he's done for the economy is better. I just heard last week that the unemployment rate in California is really, really at an all-time low, like a minor percentage. Why is that? Why are not people giving the man credit for that? Yes, the man's a dick, and yes, the man says stupid things and doesn't think before he speaks and shouldn't have a Twitter account and is an egomaniac. All the things that I hate about a human being. But just because I hate someone who owns a restaurant doesn't mean I don't like the food there. And I think there were a lot of things about, unfortunately, people are talking about just the bad. I think Obama, they did some good things, but he did some shitty things. He's the one that gave Wells Fargo all this money. My personal friends, a lot of my personal friends, middle class and lower upper class, lost their homes because of what Obama did. But a lot of my poor friends got homes, and they got assistance, and they got medical, and they were able to buy cars, and he's raised the minimum wage. Why is everybody that's poor complaining about Trump when Trump just raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour? He doubled it. I would think that those people would be going, you know, I don't like the guy, but thank you very much. You raised the minimum wage. You doubled my wage. If I doubled your wage, wouldn't you be thrilled? If you were making $2,000 a month and then you went from $2,000 a month to $4,000 a month, wouldn't you give me a little credit? It doesn't make sense to me. I think that the public is being brainwashed, and they're letting their own parties brainwash them, and I think that's really sad. I think it's sad that anyone allows going to church, what they say to church, take it literally and say that you have to do this and you can't do that. You need to follow what's in your heart, and if your heart says, you know, a person is doing something good for you and a lot of bad things that you don't like, then say that, but don't just generalize the statement that the man is a horrible person. You can say the same thing about every politician in the world that's been in American politics. I hate all politicians. They all look like criminals to me. I wouldn't lend any of them $10 and expect to get it back. But that's me. I think that that when people are constantly bad-mouthing Trump, or people were constantly, the Republicans, people that were constantly bad-mouthing Obama, or anybody from the Democratic Party, or Bernie Sanders, or whatever, like, I think that they're brainwashed by their own party. I think you need to, it's like being in a relationship and thinking, I want to break up. You have to put all the good points of that person and all the bad points of that person, the things that you love and the things that you don't like. And if one weighs out the other, then you vote for that person. You vote to stay in that relationship, or you vote to get out of that relationship. And I think that people are allowing a name party, the Democrats, the Republicans, what's the other one's called? But anyway, they're letting those people brainwash them into making their decisions for them. And I think that's the problem, is too many people just follow a party. Like, you don't vote for someone because they're a woman. You don't vote for someone just because they're black. You don't vote for someone just because they're Korean. You vote for their policies. You vote for if they stand for a lot of things that you like and more things than the next guy, then you vote for that person because they're the best of what's out there. And that's what I'm assuming, being a Democrat. I'm assuming that the people of the United States who were born in this country and who know more about politics than I do voted this man in. I have to give the man a break. I have to say they know better more than me, so I'm hoping that they made the right decision. The economy's better. There's a lot of really good things that Trump has done. Do I want to look at the man? Do I want to listen to him? No. But when the economy is better and people can go to a store and buy food and pay their bills because of this man, give the man a little bit of credit. You don't have to like the man, and you don't have to like all of his policies, but don't knock the fact that he's going to Putin and trying to make peace with this man and trying to denuclearize South Korea and let the world be a little bit more at peace because they think this man is crazy. But maybe he's not as crazy as what they think he is. I think he's crazy because he hangs out with Dennis Rodman, but that's his deal. Politics is just insanity to me. And that people constantly talk about it is ridiculous. Well, as I said, with the fact that he's stopping a lot of businesses that could be done here, or a lot of other countries. He said that he's proven that a lot of countries were taking advantage of Americans with taxes and tariffs and stuff like that, and he's trying to bring businesses back. I mean, he's opened some big businesses that were being imported from other countries that could have been done here. He's made it harder for Americans to take the car industry out of he's bringing it back to the United States, which is giving people in the United States jobs, which is giving metal factories money because they're making metal again here and stuff like that. So I think some of his foreign policies are probably good and some are probably bad. Once again, I'm the wrong person to judge because I just have to hope that the people who do know about it are taking care of making sure that the right thing is being done. I think this country is in danger. And I think what's going to destroy anything good is the negativity that you hear every single day in every supermarket, in every tabloid and all the news. I think rather than I think they make a mountain out of the molehill. They take a pebble and turn it into a boulder that's rolling down and ready to crash into society. I think that we need to stop all this crap on the news and stop reporting every. As a director, you know, you can edit anything to make anybody look good or look bad, and I think that there's a lot of people that want to make Trump look bad, and there's a lot of people that want to make Democrats look bad, but I think we should all focus on the good parts and help to make things better rather than sit around and bitch about what's going on in the world. If you don't like what's going on in the world, do something about it. That's what I think. If I don't like something that's going on in my life, the only person that can change that is me. If you don't like what's going on in your country, then rather than sit around and name call and all that stuff, then you've got to put some energy into changing it to make the world a better place. For you.
Si ce témoignage vous a plu, pensez à vous abonner. On se retrouve tous les mercredis à 18h pour une nouvelle histoire quelque part dans le monde. Et si vous voulez aller un peu plus loin, je vous invite à découvrir l'Odyssée Est-Ouest, une traversée à moto de la Russie aux États-Unis pour explorer les regards croisés entre l'âme russe et le rêve américain. Le lien est dans la description. À très vite!